Good day. I've had some more inquiries about the Flintlock, how it works, and generally a few things about it that people aren't aware of. So I'll just go through some things today. Safety wise, on a flintlock or a firelock, you can have two things that'll help the safety. One is half cock. And the only trouble with half cock as a safety is that it could fail. If your lock was warm, or if you got some dirt in the lock, it could go off half cocked. Okay? So to guard against that, I use a hammer boot. Now on a flintlock, this is the cock, this is the hammer. And a hammer boot fits on like that. That effectively stops the gun from going off, because with that on there, the flint hits the leather and it doesn't hit the steel, which is another name for the hammer. So it can't create sparks. Now there's one other thing you might like to do as a safety factor, and that is use a quill. Now I've got a turkey quill. It's a vent quill, but it's a turkey feather that I keep on my pouch. And that goes when the gun is loaded but not primed, but loaded but not primed. That quill goes in the vent hole like that. That lets anybody else know that I'm with that that gun is loaded, and it also reminds me that it's loaded, so I don't load it twice. Okay? Vent quills, very handy items. I collect a variety of these. I've got a galah feather, 2 rosella parrot feathers, a currawong feather, magpie feather, and a kookaburra feather, which is barred. And there's a larger one, a barred kookaburra feather. Okay, any of these will do. Some of these are a bit long, but you can cut them down. Anything that stands out that you can just stick in the vent, like so. The other use for this is when you're loading, when you have an empty gun. Okay, this isn't a safety matter. This is a way of making your gun faster. It will give it quicker ignition. Okay, you put the vent quill in the vent and then you load the gun. The reason for this is it stops the powder from getting into the vent. If the powder gets into the vent, it will act like a fuse. So when your charge goes off in the pan, it then has to burn through the vent to get to the main charge. Now it may only be a second or two that it would take to do that. Probably a second. But that's a second later than you want. Okay, what you want is when you pull that trigger, it goes off like that. And that will aid it to do just that. If you forget to put this in, the other thing you can do is take your pricker. Okay, some people call them a vent pick, but the correct 18th century term for this is a pricker. After you've loaded, this pricker is attached to the strap on my shot pouch after you have loaded. Put it in there, put the pricker into the vent hole and push it in just to make sure it's clear. Take it out again, prime the gun, okay? That will give you much faster ignition. Now, people ask me, what do I carry? Well, I carry a variety of gun tools. Now, I'm not saying that every woods runner carried these tools, but what I am saying is, based on my experience so far over the years of carrying a flintlock, I find it's best to carry them. I've had things go wrong with it, very rarely, and not for many years now, I must admit, but I still carry them because it's important to me to keep this working at all times when I'm out bush. Now, there are things you can do if you don't have the tools. Let's just see if I can get out my... I carry a little toolkit in the shot pouch as well. This is for the immediate service of my gun. These other tools here and spare parts, mainspring, hammer, hammer spring, punch, wad punch. This is an original 18th century one, it belonged to my father. So I can continue to make wads when I'm out bush as well. I can cut wads from bark. At the moment I'm using leather ones. I prefer leather because they won't catch fire. They won't take an ember and they won't smoulder. So when I'm shooting, it won't start fires in dry conditions. This of course is the mainspring clamp or mainspring vise for actually removing or rather putting on a new spring. If the old one's broken, it usually comes off fairly easily, but to put a new one on, you will need this vise to do it properly. So that's why I carry that. Now, if you don't have these spare parts and you don't have the tools to do that, if you've got a turn screw, a modern term of course for what a turn screw is a screwdriver. If you've got a turn screw, this is what you can do. Imagine that you're out bush and your lock breaks and you're out there long term, okay? You can't come back to get spare parts, you're out there. So what you do is slacken off the jaws on your cock. Take out the leather and the flint, wind it open, put in a piece of tinder. And wind the jaws, tighten the jaws up again. Okay, you're better off actually getting this smouldering after you've loaded and primed the gun, because if you've got this smouldering whilst you're trying to load the gun, it's just simply not safe. So load the gun first, okay? Then you can close this up and you can slip this in from the side rather than from the front, okay? With the pan closed, slip it in from the side. And carry it like that. Okay? You don't need the boot on there anymore, because there's nothing going to create a spark from this steel, from this hammer. Okay? When you're ready to shoot, now there's no spring to drive this forward. Okay? But there is a catch to hold this back. So what you do when you're ready to shoot is, you take aim, you move this forward, you release the trigger, and you lower this cock with your thumb. This lowers the tinder into the pan that's smouldering, and the gun will fire. Okay? Now you can call it a matchlock if you're using match, or you can use it as a tinder lock by putting tinder in there. But the process is the same. It means that your gun, even though the internal parts of the lock may be broken, you can still operate this gun. You can still use it. So this is one of the many reasons that the flintlock was very popular in the 18th and the 19th century. It was reliable. I carry lots of spare flints, but should I run out of flints, I can find some. I can find a stone, and I can nap it well enough to fit in this cock and fire the gun. All these feathers too, I've just, I picked up on the trail, and that's just one of the things I do. When I'm trekking, I keep my eyes open for anything I can use, and these I just stick in my wallet or inside my waistcoat, in my pocket or inside my waistcoat rather, and same with tinder, and same with any rocks that I think I might be to use. That's just part of what you do when you're out. Stick them in your bag or whatever, and you've got them for later. Okay, I can't think of anything else I need to tell you about there. I think that just about covers it. Okay, thanks for watching.